Good evening. This is the Lion of Legend, and welcome back to The Kid at the Back. Previously, we focused on Crow, so tonight, we're gonna focus on Soul. Let's see what kind of changes, other than what we saw previously, are available for this guy. So I'm going to start from the beginning, and I'm just going to go through different choices that I imagine will complement a route more for Soul. I will, as per usual, skip dialogue where I can. To start off, let's see our meter here. We are balanced, so we're at a good start. Let's go back to the library. And let's see. We'll ask them to move away since this is an actual interaction with Soul. More than likely, I imagine this is Soul. No, you refuse to accept this. That is your seat. Heck, you even made sure that people know it's yours by scribbling your name on the wooden chair. Okay, the last part is a lie. You'll probably get in trouble if you ever vandalize school property. But you've been in the library more than you could count. You're pretty sure even the regular students who come here know that it's your spot. Swallowing your pride, you slowly approach the seated guy. Once you made it to his side, however, he didn't bother to acknowledge your presence, seemingly more focused on the book he's reading. You faked a cough. That seemed to catch his attention, for he gives you a small glance right after, his nose still buried in this book. This seems to catch his attention. You're in my seat. Can I have it back? He stares at you for a moment, then closes his book, swerving his body to face you while placing an elbow on the mahogany table. His reddish orbs stare right back into your own. The confidence you had 5 minutes ago vanishes in thin air as his gaze sends shivers down your spine. The dark circles under his eyes adds to his intimidating look. He raised a brow before looking around, under the table, on the seat, and even under his book before turning back to you. I don't see your name anywhere. You can feel the veins on your forehead pop out. Oh, so he wants to be a smartass, huh? Should have put my name like I've planned for jerks like him. You crossed your arms, not hiding your visible irritation, earning a low chuckle from the male who is seemingly amused at your frustration. So cute. Did this raise my meter with him? Okay, we're balanced though. Say, if you really want your seat back, you need to convince me to move first. Tell you what, how about a cup of coffee? If you could give me a cup, maybe I'll consider moving. You bit your inner cheek. Now he wants you to be his little servant? Who does this guy think he is? Turning your head to the nearby coffee stand right next to the exit, you observe some students enjoying their own coffee while reading or studying. Maybe you can grab his coffee and get this over with. Alright, we'll go get the coffee. Alright, I'll go get your coffee then. Not sparing him a moment to respond, you turn on your heel and head towards the coffee stand. The barista, who turns out to be one of the few students who do part-time like you do, greets you and offers you their menu. You scanned its contents. You curse under your breath. You forgot to ask him what he likes. Maybe something simple would do for now. You look up at the barista, who was patiently waiting for you to take your order. I forget how Soul likes his coffee. Maybe he likes a latte. I'll grab a cup of latte, please. Sure thing. One latte drink coming right up. Jotting down your order and accepting your payment, the barista turns to work with your chosen drink. Not long after, she called upon your name and you thanked her, grabbing the drink on the counter and making your way back to the student in black, careful not to spill the cup's contents. His position on his seat remains the same, a leg over the other, an arm resting on the table, but the other now holding onto the book he was previously reading. The smell of grinded beans invaded his senses. He closes his book and places it on the table before finally looking up at you, then on the cup of coffee. He says nothing as you place the warm beverage in front of him. He fixes his posture, then reaches out to grab the cup. He takes a whiff before taking a sip. He lets out a contented sigh, a smile breaking out of his features. He blows the steam off before taking a drink, his smile never disappearing. You've got good taste. This is exactly what I wanted. You let out a smile, proud of yourself. Well, I gave you your coffee. Are you going to move aside or not? The man just tuts at your impatient behavior. Taking his book, he stands up from his seat. Yes, I can have my sweet old chair back. Your thoughts are cut short when he takes a vacant chair and places it right next to your spot before sitting down and continuing on with his book. Your eye twitched. Well, technically you didn't say you want the whole table to yourself, damn it. Taking the now vacant seat you so coveted, you went on to do your research, not minding the guy beside you, his presence and occasional glances towards you. Time eventually passed, and the next thing you know, the school bell rang. You and the guy didn't spare words to each other, packing your things and stacking the books you borrowed on the table. Before he could get a word out, you quickly took off, rushing out of the library and not sparing him one last glance. His gaze lingers on your departing figure. Clenching the book in his hand, he bites his lower lip, hard enough for skin to break, frustration embedded on his features, seemingly cursing at himself for not being quick enough to grab your attention one last time. Sweet and adorable darling, always quick on his feet. See you in next class, Lion. Alright, last time we mentioned that soul means sun or brightness. 2 points for soul, 0 for crow. Your name contradicts with your whole glam, not gonna lie. Your name means the exact opposite to what you're wearing, if I have got to be honest. Not that you don't dress well, I mean, you look good. A pinch of red makes its way to his face. Soul bit his lower lips as he readjusts his collar. I should just shut the fuck up. He averts his gaze, biting his inner cheek. Thanks. You look good too. I should introduce myself before this guy gets any more awkward. Alright, I'm pretty great at art this time. Soul gives a small smile. I'd love to see some of your works then. So, would you like me to draw my portrait first? Sure. Wait, let me get my things. You took out your sketchpad and a charcoal pencil as Soul relaxed on his seat. Would you like me to pose or... Do whatever you feel most comfortable in. Alright. Your eyes scanned his face. The more you look at him, the more you notice some of his features. His cheekbones, his lips with 2 piercings, his thick eyebrows, the way his hair settles down on his shoulders, and his reddish-orange eyes. He's actually quite handsome. For a moment, you just stared at his eyes. He noticed and stared back, his pupils dilating before he realized he was staring. Heat rises to his cheeks. He quickly averted his head away. Hey, eyes on me. Sorry, I'm not used to being stared at for that long. Relax, it's just me. Plus, you'll stare at my boring face after I'm done with your portrait. Your face isn't boring. I actually think you look beautiful. He says without even thinking twice. His eyes met yours, half-lidded, and his pupils were wide. Now it's your turn to turn red. You hid your face behind your sketchpad and whacked him with your charcoal pencil. Stop saying stupid and stay still. Sol just chuckled and stilled his movements, a hand on his chest and a smile on his face. Before you knew it, the bell rang and class was over. You weren't done with your sketch, however. The conversation kept repeating in your mind and it made it hard for you to concentrate. And like hell, you're going to show it to Sol. Come on, just a peek. It's not done yet. Boo. You chucked the sketchpad in your bag before Sol would grab a hold of it. You got up from your seat and headed out of the classroom, Sol coming close behind with his own bag as he leaves as well with the rest of the class. Alright, so we have to make sure not to get Crow killed. So I'm gonna just take his arm and speed through this. We've been through this dialogue, so I'm gonna push through to day 2. Okay, so what did I do? How did I get him to 5? Whatever. We're gonna join Sol. What happens here? Okay, it's fine. You turn your head to Crow in a shy manner, almost hesitant to ask. Oh, Crow, is it okay if I leave? I have somewhere to be at. Is that so? There was a slight disappointment in his voice, but he let you continue on. Yeah, sorry I couldn't hang out. Nonsense. I'll see you after lunch instead then, Lion. If you're interested, of course. Sure thing. You give Crow one last smile before heading over to where Sol and his companion is. You walk towards the 2 individuals. They seem to be in a deep conversation. However, Sol noticed your presence and stopped talking, his attention now on you. His companion noticed the change in his friend's demeanor and follows his gaze as it lands on you. The shorter male greeted you with a smile. Alright, so now we're meeting up with them. So anyway, what are you up to, Lion? Oh, I just saw you both and I wanted to greet you. Anyway, we're planning to go to the rooftop today and eat lunch there. The weather's doing better, unlike yesterday. You want to tag along with us, Lion? You guys aren't a fan of the cafeteria. Upon mentioning the cafeteria, Sol shivered as Hugo only gave a small chuckle. Sonny isn't a fan of the noise there. Let's get going, shall we? Sure. Hugo walks to his usual spot and got himself seated on a bench that you somehow never took notice before. Soul follows along, and in his hands is a large wrapped box that caught your interest. Okay, so since we're on the Soul route, let's dedicate, I don't know, 6 to Soul. Save page 6, for those who might not be watching. We're gonna sit beside Soul. What does this do? Okay, we're balanced. Soul notices you from the corner of his eye, the edges of his lips moving upward. You pointed to the box nestled in Soul's hands. Is that your lunch, Soul? You can say that. As Soul unwraps the cloth, showing you 3 bento boxes, he takes out the first bento box that was settled on top, before giving the second one to Hugo. Hugo happily accepts the box, thanking Soul before taking out his chopsticks. Opening the container, Hugo lets out an "aw" sound, his eyes sparkling, drool slowly seeping out at the corner of his open mouth. You actually listened, and... Did you cut these tiny sausages into octopuses? Keep your voice down, it's ringing in my ear. Wait, I need to take a picture of it. Placing the box gently on his lap, Hugo rummages through his pockets before taking out his phone. Opening his phone's camera, he flips it horizontally, then starts clicking away, taking 1 or 2 photos. Hugo lifts the container back into his hands, but not before turning to you and showing you what he keeps gushing about. Oh my. Isn't it adorable, Lion? There, you see, are a various range of food with rice shaped to match a moth, seaweed to design the face along with using a cabbage leaf to form its wings. Right below the moth are mini sausages shaped like octopus. Wonderfully cut carrots were made to look like stars and squeezed beside stuffed shiitake mushrooms. The egg roll sushi and broccoli with melted cheese as a dip looked delicious. I almost feel too bad to eat it, especially on how cute this little guy is. Hugo points at the silk moth-shaped rice. Itadakimasu. Without wasting another second, Hugo starts digging in, scruffing down on the rice like a wild, hungry animal. Did you make this by yourself, Soul? You can say that. Soul answers, opening his own container. You thought you'd see another form of food art made by Soul himself within the container, but instead was greeted by a simple ham and cheese sandwich. He takes out a slice, but before he could take another bite, he turns to you. Have you eaten, Lion? Well, technically I have not. Soul's eyes went wide and Hugo gave you a shocked look. Before you knew it, Soul takes out another box and settles it on your lap. You can have this. It's an extra. Why do you have an extra? I didn't like how this looked, but I figured I can let Hugo finish it. It's a waste of ingredients. You really don't have to, Soul. No, I insist. Oh, for fuck's sake, just eat the same box. Hugo, who clearly had enough of the back and forth banter, suggests the idea before returning to his own box. Soul hesitates, but he eventually takes out a spoon and a fork, handing them to you. We'll take a bite from the bento box. Accepting the fork, you cut off a piece of the octopus-shaped sausage. You took a bite and chewed. The mixture of flavors, how the rice remains warm and fluffy, and the sausage's savory taste helps balance it out, sends a tingling feeling down your spine from your mouth. It's amazing. It's delicious. Soul, this is really good. Hugo nods along with you with gusto, food stuffed on one cheek like a hamster. I know, right? You'd be surprised. Soul. You'd make a great house husband. Soul's eyes widened at your declaration. You really think so? I really do think so. Do you want to? Soul is definitely house husband material, Lion. Pretty sure if this is the same script as before, Soul was going to ask us. Oh, it's not in the dialogue. I'm quite positive Soul asks us if we would want to get married. Soul is definitely house husband material, Lion. He can cook, he can clean, he can do anything. I'd rather not be your own personal butler. That was a compliment. The two banter, but you couldn't help looking at Soul and the way his eyes sparkle. They almost remind you of bright fireworks during the New Year. Hugo eventually finished his own box, tucking it away and wrapping it back up. Standing up from the bench, Hugo stretched out his limbs and paced a few steps forward before turning to look at you and Soul with his hands on his hips. Is this what you guys do every day? Or at least when you both get together? You raise the question. Hugo turns his head to you with a slight tilt. What do you mean? You mean Soul giving me lunch? He just keeps forgetting to bring his own. Hugo pouts. And you never finish yours, so I do the honors of ever finishing good food, thank you very much. Those bento box art. What inspired them, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, you didn't know? Shut it, Go-Go. Go-Go? Oh, now we're using the nicknames now, Sonny. How sweet of you. You see here, Lion, my old pal here just makes food art like the typical artist that he is. But he never bothers to finish it, much less eat it. And he really loves cute things like... With a finger under his chin, Hugo ponders for a short moment, trying to remember something from the top of his head, but to no avail. He turns to his friend, his arms crossed, seemingly uninterested in answering whatever inquiry Hugo is going to throw at him. What was the name of your plushed horse, Sonny? Like hell I am going to answer that. Boo. He owns a plush horse. Soul owns plushies. Soul bites his lips, his face turning red upon the reveal of his little secret. That's so cute. You're just full of surprises, Soul. He says nothing as he fixes his choker. The red blush tinting his face makes its way to the tips of his ears. But appreciates your compliments nonetheless. Looks can be deceiving. This makes you wonder. Yeah, Hugo, looks can be deceiving definitely describes you too. Why do people never bother to notice him? Why don't people want to get to know him? Maybe they just never gave him the chance because of how he looks, not to mention his intimidating height. But he isn't like that at all. In fact, he can be considered as a gentle giant. Time passed for a while, and now Hugo and Soul are both leaning against the railings, observing the view below them. Curious, you make your way to where they were. Hugo and Soul seem to be looking at something below, their faces solemn and serious. Hugo's face is blank, while Soul's expression is a mixture of irritation and aggravation. You look down, and there you see a group of well-dressed people. But what makes them stand out is not from the way they dress, but from the way they carry themselves. They're clearly not from here, but the school's logo on their uniform's chest pocket says otherwise. They look so fancy. They look rich, dangerous. You couldn't help but hold your gaze on the tallest one in the group. An adult man. You're guessing that he must be a staff member, maybe a teacher. But what sticks out about him is the eye patch on his face and a large scar behind it. It sends a shiver down your spine. High-class mugs. Soul exclaims, pure disgust coating his tone, not hiding it a simple bit as he pulls away from the railings and returns to the benches where you last were. High class. Ah, you don't know about the hierarchy, Lion? No, not that I'm aware of. This is the first time I have ever heard of it. How come I have never heard or seen one of them throughout my school years here? Hugo lets out a low chuckle, his attention still on the group below him. Then his gaze darkened. The usual happy-go-lucky attitude you've come to know disappeared in a flash, as if the person before you is a whole different person. I don't blame you. No one likes talking about them anyway. High class. He sends a chilling glare down at the group below. This school building isn't actually the real thing. Wait, what? But the school map clearly says the address is... That's where they actually fool you. You might think you got it right, but we are sorted based on our background. The real school building? Way farther than we are. And their campus is 10 times bigger and better. They get proper classes, have better equipment, everything is just better. Here, we only get the short end of the stick. The afterthought, if you will. If I have to guess, the well-off are in the main building. That's right. Son of a duke, daughter of a businessman. Heck, as long as you're rich, you're in. Your chances for having better education rest there. If you are part of the high class, then you'll have a better chance of having a successful and stable life. But don't we have students here who are like, super rich? You recall Crow introducing you to Jess, her being a daughter of a family owning a large company. But how come she's not part of the high class? There are some who ended up shifted down and moved to our building. Either they failed a class or got a violation. They didn't want that type of stain on their reputation, so they sent them here. Of course, some didn't appreciate that. They see us as someone lower than them, hence... Hugo glances back at Soul, the said male now busying himself with a sketchpad. A soft look flashed in his eyes, like how a mother would worry over their child. There, you understood something. Oh. They have to fight the weak to feel something, huh? They sound like nothing but bullies. How come someone didn't step up to complain? Hugo laughs at your words as if you told him the best joke of his life. He shakes his head in disagreement. If only it was that easy. His laughter dies down, his expression back to being solemn as he scratches the back of his head. Actually, Lion, in this city, no one really gives a shit. Money is the only thing revolving around this city. You got no cash, you're done for. Which is why people like us... He turns to look at you dead in the eyes. are desperate to get into the higher class. If you so dare complain. He pauses, contemplating on the next set of words he's going to say, his mouth opening and closing like a guppy out of water. Instead, he gives you a warning look. His sky blue eyes that once reminded you of summer skies are now cold, like sharp icicles about to pierce you. You're better off dead. With one last look below, Hugo lets out a sigh as he turns to look somewhere else, trying to shove away the thoughts clouding his mind. But that's the sad reality here. The attention is good, great even. Your chances to get a stable life and even have a knock to stardom is high once you're part of the high class, much less graduate there. What about the hierarchy? How come I have never heard of the hierarchy before? It's like a hidden thing, but that's what we call it. The school? No. The entire city. It's like a fighting pit. Whoever is the most powerful has a better chance in living a good life here. People come to the school to gain a second chance in life. But to achieve that, you have to make yourself well known. Make them think you're worth their time. If not, you're on your own. This city is corrupted, he mutters under his breath. Which makes me question, Lion. How are you able to get in the city? No, the better question is, why did you enroll in this school? If you don't mind me asking, that is. You're clearly not from here. And that's when we talk about Mr. Z and his business with us. You recall the dream you had this morning. It felt as if it happened yesterday. Despite the events that happened nearly 4 years ago, you're still being haunted by the deal the tall man offered you. Hugo observes the way your face hardened, the way your eyebrows arched and a drop of sweat dropping amidst the cool autumn wind. There, he understood. Let me guess. It's something you can't avoid. I honestly don't know. My father never really disclosed as to why we were in debt. But I was so desperate to not lose my only home. I need to make it up to the higher class, no matter what. 3 jobs isn't cutting off the way I want it to be. I'm running out of time. This is my last year in this cursed university, and I'm barely making any progress. Hugo's gaze remains on your figure. You realized you haven't answered his question yet. My family owns a farm in the south. You finally speak, making Hugo perk up his eyebrows in curiosity. What sort of farm does your family have? Oh, well, we have some wheat fields and we tend to animals such as cows and horses. Horses! Bet Soul's going to love that place. That sounds nice. I'd love to be out of the city once in a while. You give him a small smile. Yeah, some might say it's boring, but it's not. You get to pet horses and cows. Well, you should really invite me or even Soul over then if ever. Having you give us a tour there would be a great change of scenery. But that means you're a long way from home. Don't you miss it? A little bit. That's all right. It's normal to feel a little homesick. I heard great things about this city, about this school. Hugo remains quiet, listening to you as you went on. If I can manage to come on top and maybe part of the higher class, like you said, then I can maybe save my family's farm. Crossing his arms, He says nothing as he looks at you one last time before letting out an endearing chuckle. You remind me of him. Like him. Ah, I'm rambling, don't mind me. Having caught red-handed, he waves his hands around in slight panic. His face now red as a cherry, you tilt your head in confusion. Just then, you felt a presence behind you. Turning around, you're met with Soul. His glare is stingy and directed at Hugo. The shorter male, however, didn't mind it, probably used to it. It's almost time. We should head back. All right. With nothing else to do, the three of you left the rooftop. You take one step down, looking up and ready to converse with Soul and Hugo, when you suddenly lose your footing. Lion. Whoa, you alright there, Lion? Yeah, thank you, Soul. Eyes wide in shock, you hold on to Soul's arm tight. His other arm wrapped around your waist as he pulls you close to his chest. You can feel both of your heartbeats run. Pulling away, you steady your footing, observing the stairs, cursing at how weirdly formed it is. Be careful next time. Sheesh, this school and its bad architecture, also one of the few flaws here. The stairs are all wonky. That's also why it's forbidden to go up here. We're troublemakers, though. Hugo lets out a cocky grin, then goes down the stairs with much ease, as if it's nothing to him. What a fucking menace. Turning to Soul, you grab hold of his shoulder. He did not mind, as you use him as a guide in descending down the stairs. The school bell rang throughout the hallway, signaling the start of the next classes. Hugo lets out a groan. I don't want to go to class. I hate my history teacher as much as my coach in archery. Why don't you skip then? Hugo's eyes popped open. It became bright, like a light bulb appearing out of his head and lighting up. Soul knows exactly what that look means. Don't tell me you're actually, I am going to skip class. How about it? Fuck this school. If they're going to treat us badly, then let's be the bad guys. A mischievous look makes its way to Hugo's face. Soul already knew what that look means. Sighing as he did so, he turns to you, waiting for your response to Hugo's offer. The thought of skipping is quite a gamble. Your next class is with Crow in art history. But then again, your teacher will probably only do some boring-ass introduction. Missing one wouldn't hurt, would it? Fuck it, we skip. Hugo lets out a small cheer and gives you a thumbs up. Soul gives you a cheeky smile of his own. But how do we do that, though? Obviously, we can't go through the entrance since it's closed and guarded. I know a way. Without wasting any more time, Soul leads the way, going through the back side of the school near the gardens. The edges, of course, were barricaded by a tall iron fence. Soul finds a bush and pushes it aside, revealing a gaping hole. Well, that's quite convenient. Did you make this hole, Soul? He did. I did. Hugo went ahead first through the hole. Soul waits for you first, before following right after. The three of you went past a few bushes and shrubs, the leaves falling as you passed by them, the red and orange leaves scattering around, and some making its way to your uniform before you all eventually made it out and met with pavement. So, where do we go? Hugo thought for a moment, looking around before pulling out his phone. Suddenly, he lets out a gasp, scrolling through his phone faster before gripping on Soul's shoulder, earning him a hiss from the taller male. "Sherlock Holmes is out." My ears. "Oh yeah, it's that detective movie I keep seeing on the television." "I thought that won't come out until next week. Did I set the date wrong?" With that, Hugo started sprinting, leaving you and Soul behind. For the love of... Soul placed his hands on his hips before walking to where Hugo ran off to as you followed. Hugo kept tapping away on his phone. His shoulders went slump. Guess he did get the date wrong. Shoving his phone back in his pocket, he turned to you and Soul. He clasped his hands together and pulled the biggest puppy eyes you have ever seen. "We have got to watch it. Can we, Lion? Can we, Sonny?" Hugo begged. "You can go ahead and watch the movie. I'm going to roam the arcade while you're at it." Hugo pouted. His eyes went half-lidded, and the sparkle in his eyes was gone. "But it's more fun if you're around. I know you like those crime videos you watch from time to time, so please." Soul, however, basing off of his expression, isn't in the mood. Hugo gives up and turns to you. "How about it, Lion? Would you like to watch the movie with me? The ticket and food's on me, of course." "We'll go to the arcade." Hugo shrugs. "All right. Go on your little impromptu date then. Besides, I don't want a third wheel either way." Date? You're the one who decided we should skip class and do whatever we want. "Yeah, and I want to watch a movie." "Well, don't let me stop you two." Hugo stuck his tongue out at Soul. The said male only rolled his eyes. "Well, I'll be heading in now. I'll just give you guys a call on where to meet." "Sure." You and Hugo parted ways. He gave you both a wave before heading in a different direction. Soul turns to you. "Should we get going, Lion?" "Of course." The flashing neon lights of the arcade's exterior lights your way, the sound of each arcade machine's reaching your ears. "I've never been here before. Is this place new?" "Not really. It's just hidden within the city." I see. Do you get out a lot, Soul? You seem to know places." "I know places because I get my ass dragged by Hugo." "Is that so?" You laughed. Soul just shrugged as he shook his head. He takes out a few coins from his pocket before handing it to you. They were tokens. "So, which one are you going for first?" "Wow, you came in prepared." "As always. Come on." Soul holds out his hand and you accepted it. He held it tight with a light squeeze as you and him roam around the arcade. You and Soul went and played multiple arcade games. Some you win and some he does. But you often get the feeling he lets you win for the sake of you winning. "Come on, Soul. This is like the 5th time I've won. Ain't no way you're this bad." "Maybe you're just that good, Lion." "You flatter me." Just as when you're about to insert another coin, however, you realized you've ran out of tokens. Soul takes notice of this, of course, and gave out some of his to you. "I'll go to the counter and grab a few more tokens. You don't mind staying here for a bit, right?" "Oh, how much should I pay you for the tokens?" "It's on me. Don't worry about it. Wait here." Giving you one last look, he hurriedly went to the counter. You looked around the area. The dinging sounds from various machines fill the arcade. From the corner of your eye, you spot a claw machine. Maybe playing a few games wouldn't hurt. Going to the claw machine, you check the contents inside: a cat plushie, a Shiba Inu plushie, and a horse plushie. They all look so cute. Which one should I try to win? Let me think. We'll go for the horse, because, Soul. You remember how Soul likes horses. Maybe you can try to win one for him. These are his tokens after all. You took out some of the tokens Soul gave to you and inserted one in the coin slots. The machine whirs to life as you take the joystick on your left hand while hovering the red button on your right. You were focused, eyeing the claw in its position, trying to align it with the horse plush. The claw takes hold of the plush. Your eyes widen as you cross your fingers, hoping to catch it. But you were interrupted with a sudden smack to your ass. You jerked and turned around. What the fuck? Well. What do we have here? You turned around and met with a tall figure, a cocky smirk on his face. He looks well off, like those typical spoiled rich kids you see in the movies. His hair a bit tousled with two men. You assume are his bodyguards beside him. He reeks of tobacco, making you gag. You said nothing, but tried to move away from his sight, but you were stopped by another tall figure. You were guessing he's with this asshole. Now where do you think you're going there, sweetheart? You alone? Yes, and I would pretty much prefer to be alone. The man, however, did not listen. Why don't you come with me, and I'll show you how these games are played. He raised his hand to reach your shoulders. Before he could touch you, however, you kicked him between his legs. He doubled over and clenched his lower region, a groan escaping his lips. His goons were taken aback and rushed to help him. Now's my chance. Don't let him get away. Multiple heavy footsteps were coming after you as you ran. You turned every corner you can, trying to make them lose you. But 3 against 1 is not a good matchup. Anyone, please, someone help me. You pleaded, but the multiple sound effects and music from each machine within the arcade drowned your pleas. You cursed under your breath as you focused on running. All you can think about at the moment is to get out. You managed to get out of the arcade, but you can still clearly hear the man and his goons on your trail. You looked around, and you found a few toilet stalls. You rushed towards it and got in the stall, hurriedly opening and locking it as soon as you got in. The place stinks, but you didn't give it another thought as the beating of your heart rings through your ears. Tears filling up the corners of your eyes. You hear footsteps. Find him! The man's voice echoed. You try to think of something, and you thought of calling Soul. You quickly took out your phone. No signal. Are you for real right now? You can hear how aggressive they tore open each stall. They creep closer and closer to where you are. Anyone? Please. Here you are. No, please. You've been a very bad boy. But don't worry. You can make it up to me by doing me a favor. Fuck you and your favors. I've been kind to you, but it seems you want to do it the hard way. He forcefully grabbed the edge of your uniform. Your eyes went wide as your fingers went cold. You quickly grab hold of his wrist as you try to push him away. He's too strong. He forcefully lifts up your uniform, revealing your stomach to him. You're going to give me a good time, little darling. Boys, hold him down. No! Fuck off! Let me go! The tears that were hanging by finally fell down your cheeks as you tried to stop him from going any further. The two large men with him held you down as you try and struggle, but to no avail. Your vision is slowly being blinded by the hot tears that were filling up. It's no use. His grip is too strong, and there's no one here to hear me. Your eyes closed shut. Please, just end this quickly. Hey, what's... Judging from the impact, the man's body was jerked off of you as he was thrown to the side. You hear flesh hitting flesh. And another one. That's enough, Soul. Not yet. That's enough. You broke his nose already. No. Soul! That's enough! Lion needs your help. At the mention of your name, the familiar reddish-orange eyes went wide open before turning to you. Soul quickly went to your side, his eyes wide with shock before crouching down and giving you a hug, his shoulders shaking as he embraces you. You said nothing, however, too stunned to speak to what transpired before you. The man now lay still on the ground, a pool of blood seeping out of him. The rest of his goons passed out on a random corner. You looked up and met with all too familiar eyes of Hugo. But they weren't the kind ones you usually see on his face. Hugo's eyes twitched as he sighed, trying to hide his visible irritation, but failing. He looks around at the mess Soul made before turning to check up on you. He said nothing, hands in his pockets, while he looks down at you in Soul's embrace. It's getting quite late. We should head home. Hugo taps Soul's shoulder, making the tall male bury his face further in between your neck before eventually letting go. His eyes were bloodshot, his face red from either anger or worry. You aren't sure, but one thing's for sure, is that this man before you cried. He cried for you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have left you. Soul. Thank you for saving me. You reach out to cup his cheek. He flinches at the touch. Tears that he was trying to hold back is now flowing freely down his cheeks. He eventually relaxed as he closed his eyes and leaned onto your hand as he held it. I don't know what I'll do if. It's okay. It's all right. Here. Beside you, Hugo extended his hand for you to take. You notice on his other hand is the same horse plush you tried to win back in the crane game. He took Hugo's hand as he helped you get up. Soul stands as well, but backs away from you a few steps. We should head back home. It's quite late after all. Both you and Soul didn't say anything but nod along. Hugo gives both of you a smile before walking away. Soul kept a firm hold on your hand, seemingly afraid to let you go. Hugo lets out a sigh. I guess we can't get in that arcade anymore. Those guys might come back to teach us a lesson. If they ever come back, I'll give them more than just a broken nose. You're pretty scary right now, Soul. Speaking of scary, what is the scale looking like? Not too bad. I don't think Crow would go crazy. Good. I'd like to keep it that way. Hugo shakes his head. He rummaged through his pockets before handing Soul something. He didn't quite see what it was, but judging on the scowl on Soul's face, he doesn't like it. I told you these don't work anymore. It's because you aren't taking it, you fool. Now take it tonight. Soul grumbled like a child who got scolded before taking whatever Hugo gave to him and tucked it in his pockets. Anyway, your place is just around this corner. You should head back as soon as possible. I'll be taking Lion home. Soul's eyes narrowed. He went from holding your hand to wrapping his arm around yours in a possessive manner as he leaned closer and glared at Hugo. No, I can walk him home. Clearly, you're not in a good condition to fight again. I can fight again. There was something in Hugo's eyes that made your blood run cold. The usual happy-go-lucky expression he had on his face was gone. You take a look back at Soul, noticing how unfazed he seems, as if challenging Hugo. Well, this is the Soul chapter, so I guess he's walking us home. What'd that do? Nothing. Both of them looked at you in surprise. Hugo seems to disapprove of your choice, while Soul's whole demeanor shifted from shocked to cocky as he slowly turned his head to his shorter friend. You heard him. Hugo, I can handle this. I can walk Lion home. Lion trusts me. I want you to trust me too. Hugo looks at his friend in wild disbelief, almost as if offended by what Soul said. He took notice of the way his fist tightened, causing his veins to bulge out from the force he exerted. Eventually, he gives up with a sigh. Hugo turns to you. If it's fine for you, Lion, then I can't force you. The shorter male didn't say anything afterwards. He then turned on his heel. Hugo walks away. You and Soul stare at his back until his figure becomes smaller and the light post no longer illuminates the path that he walked on. Is he always like that? Rubbing the redness away from his eyes, he turns to you. Like what? Like really bossy, especially towards you. I thought he's the happy-go-lucky type. Guess you can't judge a book by its cover. Soul didn't say anything. His gaze lingered on the now empty path where Hugo had headed. He takes your hand and wraps his fingers around yours with a smile on his face. He looks happy. What matters is that you're here with me right now. Shall we get going? Please excuse the place's condition right now. I didn't expect a visitor to come this evening. You said with a bit of a chuckle, rubbing the back of your head as you welcome Soul inside your apartments. I don't mind. Oh, Soul's in our apartment without breaking in. This is a change. Soul eventually takes a step inside your apartment, but did not go any step further and remained by the door. Soul's figure was a bit stiff as he lingered by the entrance. Maybe he needs some convincing that it's alright to come in. Taking hold of Soul's hand, you led him to the living room and made him sit on the couch. Upon taking a seat, Soul placed down the horse you won for him on the table beside him. His whole demeanor, however, still remained rigid. You don't need to be so stiff, Soul. Just make yourself at home. Sorry, I'm just not used to being in other people's spaces, much less their homes. Really? Not even Hugo's? Soul shakes his head. You begin to ponder. However, your train of thought was cut short when Soul started flexing his knuckles. That's right. Stop what you're doing and wait here. I'll go grab the medical kits. And don't you even dare strain your fists any further. You don't really have to do all of this, Lion. You tutted, placing your hands on your hips. My house, my rules. Plus, I did insist on treating your wounds. Soul didn't say anything, but just let his hands relax. He still looked stiff, but, through your words, he loosed his shoulders, just a tad bit. You hurriedly ran to your room and into the bathroom connected to it, and took the first aid kit before returning to the living room. Once you returned, you took the empty space right beside Soul. Hands. You say that like I'm some sort of dog. Despite his remark, he did as you told him and showed you his hands. Taking his hand on yours, your eyes furrowed at the gash and a few blistered adorned on his once pale knuckles. Taking a disinfectant and a piece of cotton from the kit, you lightly dabbed the formula on the cotton. This might sting a bit. Soul didn't say anything. Taking it as a sign to proceed, you gently dabbed the cotton on the bruises on his knuckles, earning a few hisses here and there from him. You did the same to his other hand, but this time he was silent, seemingly used to the stinging pain. After disinfecting the wound, you took out some gauze bandages and wrapped it around his knuckles. You were busy wrapping the bandages that you failed to notice how he kept looking at you while you were patching him up. You only realized this when you finished wrapping his hands. You looked up, and your eyes met with his reddish-orange orbs. Orbs that reminded you of summer daisies of a rare breed. But the word summer doesn't really quite fit him. Instead, he reminds you of the harsh and cold winds of fall. Despite his icy exterior, he has shown you nothing but warmth, like a fuzzy scarf to shield you from the freezing autumn winds. He hasn't let go of his hands from yours yet. Oh boy. Alright. We're gonna kiss his knuckles for all you Team Soul people out there. What did that do? Of course it made it better. You have no idea what made you do what you did next, but you raised his hands in yours and pressed your lips on his bandaged knuckles. He did not jerk his hand away, but the look of pure shock was displayed on his face. His face went red while his eyes grew wide like saucers. Soul lets out a low and nervous cough, tilting his head to the side in a shy manner. I'm not a kid anymore, you know. But it makes you feel better, right? You let out a chuckle. His silence was enough of a confirmation. You eventually let go of his hands, and he pouted when you did. You stood up from the couch. Your gaze lingers on his sitting figure. Do you need anything else, Soul? A cup of water, perhaps? No, there's no need. Oh, come on, Sonny. A brow raised with mild curiosity at the familiar nickname you uttered. Sonny? Yeah, Sonny. There was a slight pause. The air was still. You felt nervousness starting to crawl up your skin. You rubbed the back of your neck. Sorry. I guess that's quite a bit bold of me to casually give you a nickname all of a sudden. No, it's just that I'm used to hearing that from Hugo's mouth. Well, only from Hugo. How about calling me something else? You don't mind a nickname? If Hugo's going to give me one, why not you? We'll give Soul a nickname. Oh man, wait a minute. I actually have to give him my own nickname? Boy, I didn't prepare for this. I thought I was going to get a list of options. Give me a minute. I gotta think of something. How about I name you... Since your name is Soul, you remind us of the sun. You have a heart of fire. Fireheart is already taken. So I will name you Blazeheart. Blazeheart. Yes, Blazeheart. Quite fitting for someone like you, huh? You nudge and wink at him. Soul merely smiles and shakes his head. He looks up at you and admires your face. Sure, Lion. You can call me Blazeheart whenever you'd like. Now that that's done. With a hand over his heart, he gives you a knowing look, gaze serious as if he's about to make a vow. Let me repay your kindness, Lion. Hey, you don't have to, Soul. It's the least I could do as your friend. No, I insist. I can make you dinner tonight if you'd like. That won't be necessary. Before you could protest, however, you could feel your stomach rumble. The sound was loud enough to be heard, which earned a low chuckle from Soul. I can cook. Not on my watch, mister. Your hands need to rest. I'll do the cooking. Before Soul could retort to insist on cooking, you pulled him up from his seat and started pushing him towards the kitchen dining room. Is there anything you'd like and don't like? Nothing really. Wait a minute. Oh, the bandages. Right. I was reminded of in the earlier version of this game where he gets attacked in the library and his hands have to get bandaged. I wonder if that's still in this update and we just haven't found it yet. As long as it's from you. But really, I'm fine. You've done enough for me already, Lion. I'm just doing this to return the favor. You shake your head no before forcing him back to his seat. Soul sighed and gave up, propping his elbows on the wooden table as he looked at your figure. Happy that he complied, you turned to stare at your kitchen sink. What the fuck are you going to cook? You've never had a guest before. Heck, even Crow has never entered your apartment, and you had no other friends to even call over to hang out. Are you really this lonely? While you were in the middle of fighting your own thoughts, Soul hummed a tune. You hear him drag his chair to stand up, and you soon find his tall figure now looming behind you. He held his hands behind his back as he inspected your cupboards. Seems like your kitchen is quite empty. Well, it's not completely empty. Reaching out towards the cupboard above you, he pulled out a box of curry powder and gave it to you. Oh, this could work. I'll look forward to it. An idea then struck you. What if you help me make those cute foods like the one you made this afternoon? You mean the bento box I made for Hugo? I can. But does that mean I can work in the kitchen? Not a single finger. Soul merely pouted. He placed the box of curry on the counter as he crossed his arms and leaned on his back, his gaze not leaving your figure. Alright, Pumpkin. Let's see what you've got. I'll lead you as you go. Using your phone, you searched up on how to make simple curry, checking the list of ingredients that you thankfully had on hand before preparing everything on the counter. Soul checks around and lets out an approving hum. He begins by telling you to prepare the ingredients. Thankfully, you have most of it lying around. You wash the potatoes and carrots, and proceed to peel the skin off one by one. Soul still remains right beside you, his arms now crossed as he observes. When you set aside the vegetables, however, he suddenly takes out a knife from your knife holder, along with your chopping board, then moves to chop the vegetables. You were about to protest, but stopped yourself when he gave you a side eye, a smirk on his face as he cut them neatly and in equal sizes. He has experience, and he made it clear. Show off. After cutting them, he sets the chopped vegetables in a bowl as he awaits the rest from you. I could have handled it on my own, you know. Yeah, you can, but what if I'm stubborn like that? Well, at least this makes the work faster. You eventually finished peeling the carrots and took the knife from Soul, shooing him away and taking his task. Soul complied and went back to leaning on the counter. You looked at the perfectly cut potatoes and carrots. Did he make flower-shaped carrots? How did you do this? Do what? This! It's so cute! Do you want me to teach you? Wait, let me do it first. I want to see how I can replicate it. Grabbing a piece of the sliced carrot, you try to replicate the flower-shaped carrot Soul did. However, every time you managed to cut one, a piece of petal would fall off. Again, and again, and again. You placed the knife down, lifted your sleeves up, and continued on. You were too focused on trying to cut a piece of carrot to fully realize that a large pair of bandaged hands were now on top of yours. Soul's figure loomed behind you, his torso pressed close to your back, as he leaned his face right next to yours. His breath fanned your cheek, while you stand frozen. You can feel the heat slowly rising up to your cheeks. Calm down. Let me help you. With his guidance, he leads you with utmost care. Don't cut too much. That's how you manage to accidentally cut off a petal. Do this instead. You couldn't focus. Your heart was beating too fast. The rumble his chest makes whenever he speaks echoes through you. You can feel his heartbeat as well. It was beating as fast as yours. You let him lead you, like a puppet to its master. There, this looks better. You were too distracted by his overall presence that you didn't realize how the once round carrot was now in the shape of a blossom. It only hit you once he stepped out, his arms around you gone, and he was off of your back. You looked down at the masterpiece before you. You make them so pretty. I think you can make them prettier. Just follow what I did. That's the problem. I wasn't paying attention. You weren't paying attention, were you? You avoided his gaze. He lets out a chuckle. I can show you again. I think that's alright. We're running out of carrots anyway. Just need to chop the rest of the potatoes and we're done prepping. Want me to help you with the potato? Sit down, mister. While you were cooking, with Soul's aid and instructions of course, the said man took the honor of making orange juice, claiming it was less of a risk. Since he kept on insisting to help, you let him be. Soul sets the table while you turn off the stove. The curry's aroma fills the dining room. The curry was hot, and steam rose from the pot as you carried it by the handles with mittens on your hands. You then set it on the table. Soul sat across the table. The orange juice he made in a pitcher now settled on the table as well with 2 glass cups. You sat down on your seat as well. Thank you for the food. Thank you for the food. Wow, this smells so good. Without wasting time, you took a spoonful of warm curry and rice, blowing the steam away, then plopping it in your mouth. You let out a joyful hum. Soul just chuckled as he ate his own portion of curry. You should write down the spices you made me add. I didn't think they would taste this good. I'll list them down once you're done eating. Couldn't argue with that. You discard the dishes in the sink after dinner. You and Soul sat in the kitchen for a while, somehow finding yourselves talking about food as you drank what was left of the orange juice. Soul still making himself comfortable on the dining table. I can send you a few of my favorite dishes if you want to try them. That would be great. I'd like to learn more from you if given the time. Of course. Anything for you, Lion. Soul smiles at you. You looked back at what happened today and how much he's been with you. From making you feel safe, to making you laugh, to actually protecting you. And now he just casually helped you make dinner, even though you just bandaged his wound like any other normal person would do. Cooking with him, dining with him. It all seems so domesticated, like you and him are. You took another swig of the orange juice, chugging it down to the last drop, catching Soul by surprise. You feel your heartbeat quicken and the familiar warmth of your face heating up again. You let out a yawn. Oh, excuse me. What time is it? It's 8:45. That late already? I've been taking too much of your time, Soul. You still need to go home. It's a school day. What the fuck is going on? You rub your eyes. Another yawn escapes your lips. No, don't worry about it too much, Lion. I feel quite happy you let me in and treated my wounds. Not to mention sharing dinner as well. Soul wanted to say something, but he stops himself before he could utter the words in his mind. Instead, he leaned in closer. His eyes were half-lidded as he looked at you expectantly. Why are there 3 of him? Oh. Your head is getting dizzy. You seem tired, Pumpkin. No, I'm fine. Let me get you the door. Your eyelids felt heavy from the sudden creeping drowsiness that wrapped around you. You rubbed your eye, trying to shake off that heavy feeling. Your hand lost its strength. Something slipped, and glass shattered on the floor. Beyond your fading vision, you caught Soul's smile, his hand pushing away the glass of orange juice that had never been touched. He looks at his figure now passed out on the table before him. He turns to stare at the pitcher half filled with orange juice as he crunches the packet of pills in his pocket, the very same packet Hugo gave him before coming into the apartment. Taking the pitcher and his glass of orange juice, he drained it all out and placed them in the sink before returning to Lion's side, not minding the shards of broken glass he's stepping on. He gently lifts Lion's hand, then drops it. And just like a motionless ragdoll, he remains unconscious. A smirk makes its way to his face. He gently placed his hand on his shoulders before leaning in close to his neck, taking a deep inhale of his scent. He shivers in delight. He gently wrapped Lion's arm around his shoulder before carrying them in his arms like a groom to his spouse. Let's get you to bed, Pumpkin. He entered Lion's room, seemingly familiar with the layout as if he's been through here multiple times. Of course he broke in. We just haven't seen it yet. He carefully walks towards the bed and gently lays Lion down on his duvet. The corners of his lips turn upward, his eyes twitching. He then proceeds to lie down next to his sleeping figure, wrapping his arms around his abdomen and pulling his body closer to his, spooning him in the process. You notice how in this paragraph and prior it's saying his figure, okay? To you soul appreciators out there, all right? Let's continue. I want to touch on that later, probably. He buries his face on his neck. Like before, Soul inhales Lion's scent like an addictive perfume. A shiver went down his spine as he can feel his pants tighten from the mere scent of his beloved. Oh boy. Oh, my darling Lion. I feel so flattered that you trust me so much, despite just meeting me yesterday. Isn't this enough proof that you're meant to be mine, as I was meant to be yours? Your soul resonates with mine. He makes himself comfortable, his arm still wrapped around, keeping his gaze on the apple of his eye. A wicked smile still settled on his face. He snugged closer, hearing Lion's steady heartbeat through the veins of his neck. I love you so much, Lion. I want you to realize. I want your soul to realize. I know that it'll take some time. But I'm getting impatient, sweetheart. When will you realize? He asked under his breath, as if hoping for some answer from the sleeping man caged within his arms. But only a soft and steady breathing filled his ears. He tightened his hold around him. His eyes didn't flutter shut as his thoughts kept him up until midnight. Someday, one day, Lion, you'll learn the truth. To be continued. What the actual shit? Bro, man, alright, where do I start? Listen, I know I'm treating this whole, Soul and Crow thing, like Team Crow, Team Soul, like Team Edward and Team whoever the hell the other guy is. Listen, we saw in episode Crow, what I dubbed my previous channel's title, that Soul can get completely unhinged. The dude, he killed Crow, okay? Killed Crow. If you take that route. And here, he drugs you. I knew some shit was weird. The moment 8:45, late, eyes start blinking. Okay, but for you Team Soul people, can you please put in the comments section why you're on Team Soul? I need to know. Cause listen, I'm open to make bad choices in this game, but if I gotta choose one, it's gotta be Crow. It's gotta be. At this point, I don't. The evidence is clear, okay? And not only that, Not only does he drug you, not only does he kill Crow, but look at the way that he talks to you. Look at the way that the dialogue of the narrative of the game, he's calling the main character, the protagonist, me, you, us, the player, his figure, okay? He wants you to belong to him. Sure, he may say, yeah, I'm gonna belong to you too, but like, it's not, this is one-sided, right? It's clearly one-sided. This is not just like a love and infatuation thing. It's a possession thing. This dude is nuts. I guess we can call him yandere, you know? Fine. Like, sure, he's already proven that. But still. God. Oh, boy. All right. Well, with that all being said, I have got to cut this here. I don't have a lot of time tonight to go into this game because I am actually leaving to go out of town for the rest of the week 2 days from now, which means as of this, you know, me saying these words, I still have to stop this video, edit it, and get it online for you guys to see. And I don't have a lot of time to do that. So unfortunately, this is going to be a lot shorter than that 3.5-hour video I did the first time. How I do see this happening is I'm thinking, and maybe you guys can let me know if I'm, you know, going about this the wrong way. I'm thinking about having part 1 be dedicated to Crow, which I did, and then part 2 is Soul, which is now. Maybe have part 3 following more of what Hugo's options are-ish, and ideally I want to wrap up with part 3 and like do some more exploratory options and see if we can find all the CGs. But we'll see. There's definitely, I feel like, more endings that we, just tap my microphone. I think there's more endings that we haven't found. There's obviously a lot more dialogue options that I have not taken. So, I'm going in this blind right now. We're going to hop in, you know, not this week, but perhaps when I return from my trip next week, I will put this on top of my priority list to really knock out. I do have some other content queued up, so I'm not ignoring the kid at the back. I'm just, you know, the game updated at a very busy time for me, unfortunately. So my apologies. I am going to kindly ask for everybody's patience. Let's go into the album real quick. So we are still missing a lot out of Soul. We're going to have to, we'll do some digging around and see what we can get. I can't believe this guy rescued us from that bathroom scene just to drug us later. This fucking guy right here, I swear to God. I feel like I have so many words, but like, so, yeah, okay, so I did notice it. Right before we passed out, I saw a glimpse of his face, and I was like, what the fuck was that? I didn't say it, but it was in my head, and I noticed it. Look at this guy, Team Soul in particular. I want you to look at this guy, okay? And I want you to tell me why this is the guy that you want to wake up to. I want to tell you to tell me why this is the guy you want to see from across your dinner table, okay? I need answers ASAP, because I just gotta understand. I need to know why. Okay? Oh, man. This guy's crazy. Whatever. Another very interesting chapter in this entire game. We will be seeing Soul again in the near future, and what other shenanigans he can bring about to us. If you did like this video, go ahead and leave it a like, leave a comment, maybe share the video out, perhaps even subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you all in the next video. So have a good night.